The spaceship's observation deck fell silent as engineer Jack Porter stared at the fading star through the massive window. It wasn't a natural star. That much was clear from the geometric patterns visible on its surface. This was the luminary, an artificial star engine created by a civilization long gone from the galaxy. "So this is it?" Jack asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Ambassador Wilson nodded gravely. The luminary powers 312 worlds across 17 systems. If it fails completely, billions die. Jack ran a hand through his short brown hair, trying to process the magnitude of what he was seeing. Just 3 months ago, he had been working on fusion containment systems at NASA's Deep Space Division. Now he stood at the edge of the Orion Confederation, humanity's first engineer invited to examine the most important power source in this sector of the galaxy. And 1,000 different species have tried to fix it. Jack asked. 1,013, to be precise, replied Krell, the insectoid representative from the Galactic Council. His mandibles clicked as he spoke, each more advanced than humans, with no offense intended. Jack nodded, used to the dismissive tone many alien species took with humans. Earth had only achieved faster-than-light travel 30 years ago. In galactic terms, they were infants. None taken, but I still don't understand why you've brought me here. Ambassador Wilson stepped closer. Because we're desperate, Jack. The Council has tried every conventional approach. Now they're willing to try something different. Humans, stated Krell, approach problems unlike any species we've encountered. You lack our advanced mathematics and technology, yet you solved the Proxima paradox when our best minds failed. Jack remembered that incident, a simple solution to what aliens had considered an impossible navigational problem. It had put Earth on a galactic map. The luminary has been failing for 3 centuries, Krell continued. At current degradation rates, complete failure will occur within 15 standard months. A tall, blue-skinned alien with 4 arms approached them. "I am Chief Engineer Mira," she said. "I have studied your species' technological development. You achieved in decades what took others millennia. We're good at borrowing ideas," Jack said with a slight smile. "No," Mira replied firmly. "You see connections others miss. The luminary was built by the precursors before any of our civilizations achieved spaceflight. Their technology follows patterns we struggle to comprehend." Jack turned back to the window. The star's surface flickered, energy patterns shifting in ways that seemed almost purposeful. "What have you tried already?" he asked. Krell tapped a command into his wrist device, and a holographic display appeared showing thousands of repair attempts, each documented meticulously. "Everything," Mira said simply. Jack studied the display, noticing something odd. "These failures, they're not random. They follow a pattern." The aliens exchanged glances. "No one has observed this before," Krell said, mandibles twitching with interest. Jack pointed to several spots in the data. "Look here and here. It's almost like the system is rejecting the repairs intentionally." Ambassador Wilson placed a hand on Jack's shoulder. "This is exactly why we brought you, Jack." Fresh eyes. Jack took a deep breath. The responsibility was overwhelming. Billions of lives depended on him understanding a technology created by an extinct civilization, something that had defeated the best minds of 1,000 species. "I'll need everything you have on the precursors," he said. "And I want to see the control systems up close." Mira nodded. "We depart for the luminary control sphere in 6 hours." As the aliens left to prepare, Jack remained at the window, watching the ancient star engine pulse weakly. Something about its rhythm seemed familiar, almost like a coded message waiting for someone to understand it. "What are you trying to tell us?" he whispered to the dying star. The journey to the luminary control sphere took 3 days. Jack spent most of this time in the ship's library, reviewing holographic records of previous repair attempts. The aliens had provided him with a neural translator that allowed him to understand the technical concepts from various species. "Finding anything useful?" asked Zix, a six-limbed engineer who had joined the mission as Jack's liaison. Jack rubbed his tired eyes. Maybe. The pattern I noticed is even clearer now. Look at this. He gestured at the floating diagrams. Every time someone tries to restore the original energy flow pattern, the system makes a minor adjustment to prevent it. Zix moved closer, his large oval eyes blinking rapidly. That suggests intelligence, not failure. Exactly, Jack said. It's not breaking down. It's changing on purpose. The ship shuddered slightly as it entered the artificial gravity field surrounding the luminary. Jack moved to the viewport and gasped. They were now close enough to see the true scale of the ancient construct. The luminary wasn't simply an artificial star. It was encased in a partial Dyson sphere composed of interlocking geometric structures. Some segments glowed brightly, while others had gone dark, creating the unstable pattern visible from a distance. "It's beautiful," Jack whispered. "It was more beautiful once," Zix said quietly. 3 centuries ago, the entire structure shimmered with perfect harmony. My great-grandparents saw it and wrote poems about the light. The ship docked at one of the sphere's service stations, a structure larger than Earth's moon. Jack gathered his tools, including some custom equipment he had designed based on his initial observations. Ambassador Wilson met him at the airlock. "The council representatives are waiting. They're anxious to see what a human engineer might discover." Jack nodded, suddenly feeling the weight of expectation. "No pressure, right?" Wilson smiled tightly. "Just remember why we're here. This isn't just about proving humanity's worth. Real lives are at stake." The control center was a vast chamber with curved walls displaying real-time data about the luminary. Dozens of aliens from different species worked at various stations, all watching Jack as he entered. Krell approached immediately. "Engineer Porter, we've prepared the central interface for your examination. No one has been able to establish full connection with it for over a century." The central interface wasn't what Jack expected. Instead of complex machinery, it was a simple pedestal with what appeared to be hand impressions, although they weren't shaped for any hands Jack had seen before. "The precursors," Mira explained, noticing his confusion. "They had 7 digits and connected directly with their technology." Jack circled the pedestal, studying it carefully. "Has anyone tried creating an adapter?" "Hundreds," Zix replied. "The interface rejects artificial connections. It seems to require biological input of a specific type." Jack opened his tool case and removed a scanner he had modified. "Mind if I try something unorthodox?" Krell's mandibles twitched nervously. "Define unorthodox." "I want to analyze the quantum resonance pattern of the interface. My theory is that the precursors used biological quantum entanglement for their most important systems." Several aliens murmured among themselves. One stepped forward, a tall reptilian figure with iridescent scales. "I am Council Elder Vex," he said. "Your species has barely mastered basic quantum computing. What makes you think you understand quantum biological interfaces?" Jack connected his scanner to the pedestal. "We don't understand it, which might be our advantage. Sometimes ignorance lets you try things experts know won't work." The scanner hummed to life, projecting a complex pattern above the pedestal. "There," Jack said, pointing to a fluctuating node in the pattern. "The interface is still active. It's not rejecting connection. It's waiting for the right signal." Vex leaned closer. "What signal?" Jack smiled. "That's what we need to find out." Jack spent the next several days studying the control systems of the luminary. The ancient technology was unlike anything he had ever seen. While most alien engineers approached the system with complex mathematical models, Jack relied on something simpler: observation. "You watch it like it's alive," remarked Ilara, a tall humanoid with silver skin who served as the council's chief historian. Jack nodded, not taking his eyes off the pulsing patterns on the main console. "Maybe it is, in a way. Living things have patterns, rhythms." He had set up a makeshift workspace surrounded by screens displaying data from different parts of the luminary. Where others saw random failures, Jack was beginning to see something else, a deliberate sequence. The precursors, Jack said, turning to Ilara. What do we actually know about them? Ilara's expression became solemn. Less than we should, given how much of their technology still powers our civilization. They vanished approximately 50,000 years ago, leaving only their machines behind. No writings, no records, only fragments. We believe they evolved beyond physical form. The few records we've decoded suggest they planned their technologies to last for millions of years, with periodic cycles of renewal. Jack stood up suddenly. Cycles of renewal. That's it. He rushed to the main interface and pulled up historical data from the luminary's output over the past 1,000 years. The decline wasn't steady. It followed a pattern that repeated with increasing intensity. It's not failing, Jack said, excitement in his voice. It's preparing for something. 6 joined them, all 6 of his limbs carrying different diagnostic tools. Preparing for what? I think this is a scheduled event. The luminary is supposed to change. All these repairs might actually be interfering with a natural cycle. Ilara looked skeptical. You believe 1,000 species have been trying to prevent a necessary transformation. Look at the evidence. Jack pointed to the screen. Every successful repair temporarily restored energy output, but accelerated the overall decline. What if the system is fighting against being maintained in its current state? The chamber door slid open, and Krell entered with several council members. Among them was a bulky, gray-skinned alien that Jack hadn't met before. This is Council Member Drex, Krell introduced. He oversees energy allocation for 17 systems dependent on the luminary. Drex regarded Jack with 4 small eyes set in a square pattern. I understand you're proposing a rather unorthodox theory, Engineer Porter. Jack straightened. I believe the luminary isn't failing. It's evolving. All previous repair attempts may have been working against its design. Preposterous, Drex rumbled. The luminary has functioned in its current configuration for thousands of years. We've maintained stable output until recently. But that's just it, Jack insisted. The records show that the luminary goes through these cycles approximately every 10,000 years. The last one would have been before any of your civilizations were monitoring it. Ilara stepped forward. There are mentions in our oldest archives of a great dimming followed by a renewal. Our ancestors interpreted it as religious metaphor, but perhaps speculation, Drex interrupted. Meanwhile, worlds are beginning to experience energy shortages. We need practical solutions, not theories. Jack turned to a control panel and brought up a 3-dimensional model of the luminary's internal structure. Then explain this. The core components aren't damaged. They're reconfiguring. The model showed intricate patterns shifting inside the artificial star, forming new connections while dissolving others. I need access to the auxiliary control systems, Jack said firmly. I believe they contain the original programming for this transition phase. Drex's body tensed visibly. Those systems are sealed for security reasons. If I'm right, Jack replied, meeting the alien's gaze, preventing this transformation may cause a complete collapse. The luminary isn't being repaired because it doesn't need repair. It needs guidance through its evolution. A tense silence filled the room as council members exchanged glances. Finally, Krell spoke. The auxiliary controls are in a restricted section. Few have accessed them in centuries. Then it's time we did, Jack said quietly. Before we try to fix something that isn't broken. Jack found himself facing stiff opposition from the Galactic Council. In the conference chamber, representatives from various species debated his request to access the auxiliary controls. This human has been here less than a week. Council member Drex argued, his gray skin flushing darker with agitation. Now he wants access to systems sealed for our protection. Jack stood his ground. I understand your concerns, but the evidence suggests. Evidence? Drex interrupted. Your primitive observations hardly qualify as evidence. The luminary has been maintained by our protocols for millennia. Ambassador Wilson stepped forward. May I remind the Council that you invited Earth's perspective precisely because conventional approaches have failed. Jack appreciated the support but knew he needed more. He turned to the large display screen and pulled up a sequence of energy fluctuations. These patterns repeat throughout the luminary's recorded history, he explained. They're accelerating now, but they've always been present. This isn't random decay. It's a programmed sequence. Ilara, who had been studying Jack's findings, spoke up. There is historical precedent. The archives mention a similar event 9,000 years ago. Drex's four eyes narrowed. Ancient myths are not technical data. Perhaps not, Jack conceded. But coincidence? I don't think so. After hours of debate, the Council voted. By a narrow margin, they granted Jack limited access to the auxiliary controls, but with supervision. Drex would oversee the operation personally. As they left the chamber, Zix pulled Jack aside. Be careful, the six-limbed engineer whispered. Drex controls energy distribution to 17 systems. If the luminary changes, his power base changes. Jack nodded. You think he has a personal interest in maintaining the status quo. I think some prefer a failing system they control over a functioning one they don't. The next morning, Jack, Zix, and Ilara met Drex at the entrance to the auxiliary control sector. The massive door hadn't been opened in centuries, its seal covered with layers of security markers from different eras. Proceed with caution, Drex warned as the door slowly retracted. These systems were sealed for good reason. The auxiliary control room was smaller than Jack expected, with a central console surrounded by crystalline structures that seemed to glow from within. Unlike the main control center, this room felt intimate, designed for a single operator. Amazing, Jack whispered, approaching the console. This is different from the main systems. More direct. As he studied the controls, Jack noticed something odd. Recent tool marks on an access panel. Someone's been here before us, he said, pointing to the marks. Drex moved forward quickly. Impossible. The seals were intact. Jack carefully opened the panel and found modified circuitry inside. This isn't precursor technology. It's much newer. Sabotage? Ilara asked, her silver skin reflecting the room's dim light. Jack examined the modifications. Not exactly. This is designed to intercept and alter commands from the main control room. Someone's been manipulating the system responses. All eyes turned to Drex, whose posture had become rigid. Are you suggesting council interference? He demanded. I'm stating facts, Jack replied calmly. These modifications explain why repair attempts have failed. The system receives commands, but they're being altered before implementation. Zix moved all 6 limbs in an agitated pattern. This is serious. Council member Drex, who else has authorization for this sector? Only highest-level council members, Drex admitted reluctantly. Jack connected his diagnostic tool to the console, bypassing the modifications. The original interface activated, displaying intricate patterns that matched Jack's predictions perfectly. Look, he said, pointing to the display. The luminary is in a transformation cycle. These aren't error codes. They're transformation protocols. Ilara stepped closer. The precursors designed it to evolve. And someone has been preventing it. Jack finished. Drex suddenly moved toward the door. I must report this to the full council immediately. But as he reached the entrance, the massive door sealed shut with a heavy thud. Strange, Drex said, not meeting their eyes. A security protocol must have activated. Jack looked at his diagnostic tool, which showed a different story. No, he said quietly. That was a manual override. From your personal communicator. Tension filled the sealed auxiliary control room as Jack, Zix, and Ilara faced Drex. The large alien's 4 eyes darted between them, calculating his options. You don't understand what you're interfering with, Drex finally said, his voice low. The luminary's stability has maintained peace across 17 systems for millennia. Jack kept his distance from Drex while continuing to study the console. Stability based on a lie isn't real stability. The luminary was designed to evolve and cause chaos in the process, Drex exclaimed. When the transition began centuries ago, our scientists realized what would happen. Power balances would shift. Some worlds would gain energy, while others lost it. Jack's fingers traced the intricate patterns on the console. As he touched certain symbols, the crystalline structures around the room pulsed with soft light. So the council decided to prevent the natural cycle, Jack concluded. But you can't fight the design forever. That's why it's failing now. You've pushed it too far from its intended path. Ilara moved closer to the console. These symbols, I've seen similar markings in precursor ruins. They represent transformation, renewal. Jack nodded as understanding dawned. The luminary isn't just a power source. It's alive in some way, or at least it was designed to mimic life cycles. He pointed to a sequence of pulsing lights that moved through the crystalline structures. Look at this pattern. It's not random. It's a heartbeat. The precursors built this star engine to grow and change. Zix extended one limb toward a glowing crystal. If this is true, then all our repair efforts were misguided. We were treating symptoms while ignoring the cause. Exactly, Jack said. He touched another symbol, and a holographic display appeared above the console, showing the entire luminary structure. The original design included these transition phases. The dimming we see isn't failure. It's gathering energy for metamorphosis. Drex moved suddenly, attempting to access the console, but Jack blocked him. You'll doom entire civilizations with your interference, Drex growled. I don't think so, Jack replied calmly. The precursors built this to support life, not destroy it. They just understood that evolution is necessary for long-term survival. As they argued, Jack noticed a small access panel beneath the main console that seemed untouched by the recent modifications. He knelt down and carefully opened it. Inside was what appeared to be a data crystal, glowing with a pulsing inner light. Jack gently removed it and held it up. What is that? Ilara asked, leaning closer. I think it's the original program, the complete cycle design, Jack said. He carefully connected it to his diagnostic tool. The room suddenly filled with light as holographic images surrounded them. They showed the luminary going through its complete transformation cycle, dimming before bursting into more brilliant, efficient patterns. It's beautiful, Zix whispered. The hologram displayed energy distribution projections. Contrary to Drex's claims, the transformed luminary would provide more energy to all systems, though in different patterns than before. You were wrong, Jack said to Drex. The transformation doesn't reduce power, it optimizes it. The precursors designed it to adapt to changing needs across the galaxy. Drex slumped against the wall. The Council feared change more than truth. We've maintained our power by controlling energy distribution. If the luminary evolves to more efficient patterns, then you lose control, Ilara finished. Jack studied the original program. The precursors were brilliant. They built this system to require periodic guidance, but not to prevent the change, to shape it. He pointed to a sequence in the hologram. That's why previous repairs failed. The system wasn't rejecting repairs. It was rejecting interference with its natural cycle. How do we help it complete the transformation? Zix asked. Jack smiled as the pieces finally came together in his mind. We don't need to repair it. We need to guide it, like helping a butterfly emerge from its cocoon. He turned to the others. And I think I know why humans might be uniquely suited to help. The interface needs intuition, not just technical knowledge. It needs someone who understands transformation as a natural process, not something to fear. Jack worked quickly to develop a plan, knowing that time was running short. The luminary's transformation cycle was accelerating, and without proper guidance, the artificial star could destabilize completely. We need to get this information to the full council, he told Ilara and Zix. They need to understand what's really happening. Drex, still trapped with them in the sealed room, watched with defeated eyes. They won't believe you. Too many have built their power on controlling the luminary as it is. They'll believe evidence, Jack replied, copying the precursor data to his diagnostic tool. Especially when the alternative is complete system failure. Zix had been examining the sealed door. I think I can override the lockdown using the auxiliary systems. They're connected to the station's main controls. Jack nodded. Do it. But first, I need to build something. He opened his toolkit and began assembling components from his diagnostic equipment, along with pieces of precursor technology from the auxiliary control room. His hands moved with practiced precision. What are you making? Ilara asked, watching him work. An interface bridge, Jack explained. The precursors designed the luminary to respond to biological input, but not just any input. It needs specific patterns of thought. That's why no one could fully connect with it. Jack attached neural sensors to the device he was building. This will translate human thought patterns into something the luminary can understand. I think our minds might be more compatible with their design philosophy than we realized. Ilara looked skeptical. Why would human thinking align with precursor technology? Because humans still embrace transformation, Jack said without looking up from his work. Most advanced species develop stable, unchanging systems. But humans, we still value change, reinvention, evolution. Our technology constantly transforms rather than just improving incrementally. Zix made a sound of success as the door mechanisms began to respond. We'll have access soon. Jack finished his interface device just as the door slid open. They hurried through the corridors, heading for the main control chamber where the council representatives had gathered in emergency session. The luminary's output has dropped another 12%, Krell announced as they entered. Critical systems across 3 worlds have begun to fail. Because you're fighting the natural cycle, Jack called out, rushing forward. The luminary isn't dying, it's transforming, and we've been preventing it. He connected his diagnostic tool to the main display, showing the original precursor program. The chamber filled with guests as the representatives saw the true nature of the luminary's design. This is the original cycle, Jack explained. The luminary was built to evolve every 10,000 years. We need to stop trying to maintain its current state and instead guide it through the transformation. Ambassador Wilson stepped forward. Jack, are you certain about this? More certain than I've been about anything, Jack replied. The precursors built this as a living system, one that adapts and grows, but it needs guidance during the transition. Krell's mandibles clicked rapidly. If you're wrong, trillions of lives are at risk. And if we continue as we have been, the system will collapse completely, Jack countered. The luminary is fighting against our interference. That's why it's failing now. He held up his newly constructed interface. I've built a bridge that can communicate with the original systems. It can help guide the transformation. A human device. One of the council members scoffed. Our most advanced technology couldn't interface properly. That's because you were trying to stop the transformation, Jack explained. This device works with it instead. He turned to Krell and the other council members. I need access to the core chamber. It's where the primary transition needs to occur. The council erupted into heated debate. During this chaos, Jack noticed Drex slipping away through a side exit. Where's he going? Jack asked Zix quietly. The core access tunnels run through that section, Zix replied, alarmed. He might try to stop us physically. Jack grabbed his interface device. Then we need to move now. With or without council approval. Ilara stepped forward. I'll authorize it as chief historian. The historical record clearly supports Engineer Porter's theory. I'm going with you, Zix added, gathering equipment. You'll need technical support. Then let's go, Jack said, feeling the vibrations of the increasingly unstable luminary beneath his feet. We don't have much time left. Jack, Zix, and Ilara raced through the narrow access tunnels leading to the luminary's core chamber. The walls around them vibrated with increasing intensity, and occasional power surges caused the lights to flicker. "The transformation is accelerating," Jack said, checking readings on his diagnostic tool. "We have maybe 20 minutes before it reaches a critical point." The tunnel opened into a vast spherical chamber. At its center hovered what appeared to be a miniature star, a swirling mass of energy contained within a complex field of intersecting geometric patterns. This was the true heart of the luminary. "No one has accessed this chamber in over 500 years, Ilara whispered, awe in her voice. Jack spotted the primary control pedestal near the edge of the platform. It matched the design of the auxiliary controls but was larger and more complex. He hurried toward it, carrying his interface device. "Stop." The command echoed through the chamber. Drex stood on an opposite platform, alongside two security officers. He held what appeared to be a disruptor device. "This human will destroy everything we've built," Drex called out. "The luminary must be stabilized, not transformed." Jack continued setting up his interface. "Drex, you've seen the evidence. This is what the luminary was designed to do." "Our civilization depends on the current distribution patterns," Drex responded. "Do you understand what happens if power shifts? Entire economies collapse. Wars begin." Zix moved protectively between Jack and Drex, "Or we evolve together, as the precursors intended." Jack connected his interface to the control pedestal. The neural sensors glowed as they activated, and the pedestal responded with pulses of light that matched the rhythm. "It's working," Jack said quietly. "The system recognizes the interface." Drex signaled to his security officers, who began moving around the chamber's perimeter toward them. "Step away from the controls, human." Jack placed his hands on the interface and closed his eyes. The device hummed as it translated his thought patterns into commands the luminary could understand. He felt a strange sensation, as if his consciousness was expanding beyond his body. "I can sense it," he murmured. "The entire system. It's like a living organism." Through the connection, Jack could perceive the luminary's complex patterns. The transformation wasn't random. It was beautiful, deliberate, and perfect in its design. He could also sense the damage done by centuries of interference, wounds in the pattern that needed healing. "It needs guidance," Jack told Ilara and Zix. "Not control. Just a helping hand through the transition." Drex rushed forward, raising his disruptor. "I cannot allow this." Zix intercepted him, using all 6 limbs to grapple with the larger alien. They tumbled across the platform, dangerously close to the edge. "Jack, hurry," Ilara called, helping Zix contain Drex. Jack focused completely on the interface. Through it, he began guiding the transformation, not imposing his will but working with the luminary's natural patterns. It was like helping water find its proper channel, removing blockages and strengthening weakened areas. The chamber began to pulse with light as the core responded. The miniature star at the center grew brighter, its color shifting from orange to a brilliant blue-white. "The energy output is increasing," Ilara reported, checking a nearby monitor. "It's already 10% above previous maximums." Jack could feel the luminary responding to his guidance. Where the system had been fighting against interference, it now flowed smoothly toward its new configuration. Through the neural link, he sensed something unexpected: awareness. "It's not just a machine," he whispered. "The precursors built it with some form of consciousness." The connection deepened, and Jack felt the presence of an ancient intelligence awakening. Not fully sentient, but aware, like a complex organism responding to its environment. A holographic projection appeared above the core, forming into symbols Jack somehow understood despite never having seen them before. The precursor language was becoming clear to him through the neural link. "It's acknowledging us," Jack said, translating for the others. "It recognizes what we're doing." Drex had stopped struggling, watching in astonishment as the luminary's core pulsed with renewed vigor. "You're not destroying it," he said, his voice filled with wonder. "You're healing it." Jack nodded, still focused on guiding the transformation. That's what it needed all along. Not repairs, just understanding. The core flared with brilliant light as the transformation reached its peak, bathing them all in its radiance. The light from the transformed luminary gradually stabilized, settling into a steady, brilliant glow that filled the core chamber. Jack slowly removed his hands from the interface, feeling the connection gently fade. His legs wobbled slightly as he stepped back, exhausted but triumphant. "It's done," he said, voice barely above a whisper. Around them, the chamber's systems hummed with renewed energy. Displays lit up across the walls, showing power readings that exceeded all previous records. The luminary wasn't just functioning again, it was operating at levels never before witnessed. Ilara moved to a monitoring station. Energy output is stable at 140% of previous maximum capacity. Distribution pathways are reconfiguring automatically to handle the increased flow. Zix released Drex, who stood in stunned silence, staring at the transformed core. The security officers had lowered their weapons, equally amazed by what they had witnessed. "I don't understand," Drex finally said. "How could we have been so wrong for so long?" Jack leaned against the control pedestal to steady himself. "You were trying to preserve something that was designed to change. The precursors built this system to grow along with the civilizations it supports." A communication alert sounded, and Krell's image appeared on the main display. The council members' mandibles were moving rapidly in what Jack had learned was an expression of excitement. "Engineer Porter, what have you done? We're receiving reports of increased power flow across all connected systems." Jack smiled tiredly. "The luminary has completed its natural transformation cycle. What you're seeing is what the precursors intended all along." "The council is in uproar," Krell continued. "Some factions are calling it a miracle. Others are demanding explanations for centuries of misinformation." "They'll need to adapt," Jack replied, "just like the luminary did." In the days that followed, Jack worked with a team of engineers from various species to document the transformation. The newly evolved luminary operated on principles that challenged conventional understanding, inspiring new fields of research across the Confederation. 1 month after the transformation, the Galactic Council convened a special session. Jack stood before representatives of hundreds of species, many of whom had traveled great distances to witness the proceedings. "Engineer Jack Porter," announced the council elder, a venerable being whose species Jack still couldn't pronounce. "Your actions have altered the course of galactic development. The luminary now provides sustainable energy to 400 worlds, exceeding all previous capabilities." Jack nodded respectfully. "I only helped it do what it was designed to do." Nevertheless, the elder continued, "Humanity has proven itself uniquely valuable to our galactic community. Your approach, this willingness to embrace transformation rather than resist it, is something many of our older civilizations had forgotten." Drex stepped forward, now serving in a new capacity as transition coordinator. "The Council proposes establishing a permanent human presence within the Luminary Administration. We need your perspective to prepare for the next evolutionary cycle." "And when will that be?" Jack asked. Ilara, now leading the Historical Documentation Project, answered. "According to the precursor data we've decoded, approximately 8,000 years from now." Jack laughed. "I might need a replacement by then. You've established a legacy," Ambassador Wilson said, joining him at the podium. "Earth will train engineers specifically for this purpose. People who understand that sometimes fixing something means helping it change." As the ceremony concluded, Jack stood at the observation deck where his journey had begun, looking out at the transformed luminary. Its light was different now, steadier, brighter, with intricate patterns flowing across its surface. Six joined him, all 6 limbs moving in a pattern Jack now recognized as contentment. "What will you do now?" the alien engineer asked. Jack considered the question. "There's still so much to learn from the precursor systems, and I suspect the luminary isn't the only one of their creations due for transformation. The Council has identified 3 similar structures in distant sectors, 6 confirmed, all showing early signs of transition cycles. Jack smiled as he watched the brilliant star that had challenged 1,000 species before finding harmony with a human engineer who understood that sometimes the best fix isn't a repair at all, but a rebirth. "Then I guess my work is just beginning," he said.